Mitikayor Asen family, you've been paying attention. You know that the last 3 weeks my background has kind of shifted. I told myself by this third week I'll finally get it right. Because I would record on my other devices and it looked fine. And then when I posted, I realized that the frame was actually wider than what was showing. So I finally settled on my cell phone camera. I have these other devices and they're much larger, but this is actually giving me the most control and providing the best images. So I have been talking about getting on the right track. I have been talking about well, even though I haven't used the word before, at least in the last, since I've resumed these videos, I've been talking about freedom. The freedom to actually expand our knowledge, expand our spirits, to expand our impact in the world. And if we could do that, if we did do that, then all this nonsense that's happening right now in society and throughout the world would not be happening, because we would be focused on achieving our best selves. To me, the only goal in life, anytime, anywhere, is be better. And I'm not talking about comparing yourself to anyone else or any other situation. I'm saying be better than you were yesterday. Be better than you were an hour ago. And because we're human, because we are frail, because we trip and stumble, well, making those errors and correcting and becoming better, well, that's wired into our DNA. So when we do stumble, we forgive ourselves, and then we be better next time. Don't make a habit of it. Don't indulge yourself in this, but be better. That is the only goal. Otherwise, there's no point of life. If we can't become better, then what is the point of our existence? I want to talk to you about the point of our existence. I want to talk to you about God. I want to talk to you about the divine, because it is my conviction that we all have the spark of the divine within us. And when we recognize that and we honor that, then the world becomes a better place. I don't think utopia is possible, because utopia is the perfect place. And so utopia for a society, a world, a society, a community, is even more difficult to reach than a utopia for an individual. And an individual is never going to reach that state of perfection. We always strive to be better. Only goal worthwhile is the only thing that brings purpose to our life. Now, a lot of people will say, or offer this debate or this excuse or this rationale: if there's a benevolent God, then bad things would not happen to good people. If there's a benevolent God, then bad things would not happen. Earthquakes, cancer, heart attacks, stumbling as you walk out the front door and cracking your head on the sidewalk and being rushed to the hospital, bleeding out right there. There are beetles. I recently heard this in the conversation. Two people discussing the same thing. Stephen Fry and Jordan Peterson. If you don't know who they are, you owe it to yourself to actually find out. And don't listen to any sort of talk about them. Listen to them, make your own decision. So Stephen Fry and Jordan Peterson were talking about why do bad things happen. And Fry brought up the fact that there are beetles, not John, Paul, George, and Ringo, but little beetles in Africa that will burrow in to eye sockets. And since so many African communities are African villages, right, with the huts with no windows, no doors to speak of, so the little critters get inside, and they will go into the infant's eyes and wreak all kind of havoc. How can a benevolent God allow this? Well, here's the thing. After 57 and a half years upon this earth, I've made some startling observations, but really they're very rational, they're very logical. God gifts us with free will. Yes, this is what you hear from many, many religions, many, many faith traditions. We are gifted with free will. But science has concluded that even single cell amoebas can make a choice. My dog can make a choice. Uh, any sort of living organism, any animal can make a choice. Now, granted, they're not the same sort of choices that we make, humans. We are, if you'll pardon the phrase, spiritually ascendant. We think about the consequences. We rationalize all this. We pragmatize all this. Free will, if you extend that to the idea of making choices, the whole world has it, the whole universe has it. And these choices allow so many other things to happen because choices bring consequences, not just for the person making the choice, but for the butterfly effect multiplies out exponentially. So choices can bring us to earthquakes. Choices can bring us to cancer. Choices can bring us to the Beatles. Why? Because the choices affect the environment, affect how we live. I mean, even the many scientists, many environmentalists, many progressives, even many conservatives will point out to you that the effects of mankind's impact on the environment has been multiplying out throughout the years, throughout the decades, throughout the centuries. So where it used to be that we didn't have a high incidence of autism and of cancer and of heart attacks and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because we've had such an impact and because we mess around with building on tectonic plates, and we mess around with trying to, we mess around by trying to mess around with nature, we cause these effects. And these are all because, not all, but very much impacted by the choices that we as human beings make. If God were to wave his divine hand and say, you are now free of the consequences of your choices. I am going to take care of you and protect you and smother you with my love no matter what happens. We have removed free choice. And if we remove free choice, then the universe will not operate the way it always has. Those immutable laws of the universe would be changed, and therefore we would be changed. Because we have free choice, we have a world, we have these laws of physics that can't be trifled with. Because we have these laws of physics that can't be trifled with, we have free choice. We cannot have one without the other. And beyond that, because that has become the rule that cannot be broken, that means that God himself has bound himself to those rules. The gift of free choice is God's great gift to us because of his love for us, his children. So that means, as crazy as it sounds, all these ridiculous things, all these horrible things that happen in the world are also a consequence of God's great love for us. You strip away the free will, then all the events of the world do not happen. Our lives become rudderless. Our lives become purposeless. And God becomes a dictator. God becomes a czar. God becomes autocratic. This is not what we want. I mean, think of yourself as parents. Think of yourself as children. Do you want parents to be able to just smother you and protect you and keep you, quote, safe from harm and not allow you to develop your own mind, your own spirit, your own heart? That would be the greatest harm. Bad things happen in this world as a consequence of God's great love for us. God's free will has gifted us with free will. And to have that free will, we must have this world that operates as it does. So let's use our free will to create a better us. We take care of ourselves. We create a better us individually. We create a better us. And that can't help but inspire and motivate those around us to create a better community. Better communities, better nations, a better world. God's great love for us. Peace. 4 fingers. You be good to yourself. Yeah?